Hello, everyone, and welcome to our channel. If you haven't seen our channel before, my name's Tanner, my wife's name's Amy. We're both full-time artists who work together. We create mainly out of metal and leather work, and generally what we do is we take one of my wife's beautiful watercolor original paintings or illustrations and then create a version of it in our studio out of metal and leather. And that's really where I come in most cases. Sometimes we do artwork together as well in terms of imagery, but generally we start with hers and then create each of these pieces from there. If you haven't seen our channel before, most of our channel is really dedicated to helping you, helping other creatives find, some tips, some helpful hints, that kind of thing along the way. Learn from our experience. We've done this for about 16 years now, and we've done a lot of shows, more than 600, probably closer to 700 really. But anyways, over 600 shows. And we just really get a lot of questions and really wanted to share and impart our knowledge about being a full-time artist or crafter, and with the hope that it would help you in some way. So today's topic, speaking of doing a lot of things, we thought we would talk about, first off, if you've been watching our lives, thank you so much. We definitely appreciate that, and we hope that it was helpful. But it's not sustainable for me to come on every week at this time of year, so we're going to scale that back to every once or twice a month at this point. It's been about a month since our last one, and we're going to do those at 6:30 Mountain Standard Time and on Wednesdays. So we'll probably do another one in about 2 weeks. The main thing is that with going out of province for shows, going to get ready for our Christmas schedule here, as well as doing a large wholesale order, homeschooling our daughter and that kind of thing, it's really been quite a bit. So that kind of leads us into our topic for today. And the topic for today is tips on avoiding or reducing or preventing artistic burnout. And so, you hear a lot of talk about this in the corporate world. I myself have an HR degree originally, and I worked in a business corporate capacity for years. And, people talked about it a lot there, and people talked about it in my courses and my workplaces and so forth, but no one really talks about it too much as in terms of artists and crafters. But, this group of us, we are the type of people that there is no boundaries. In a lot of cases, we'll be up all night. We'll be up early in the morning. We'll be working 7 days a week. We'll be looking for ways anywhere where we can cram in another project or attend another show or take on another wholesale customer or whatever the case is. And it can be overwhelming, and it can lead to burnout in a lot of cases. So we're hoping today's video will help you a bit with that. The first thing that came to mind, and we have mentioned it in previous videos, but in a different capacity, creating a production schedule. So this is helpful in terms of producing your items, of course, and staying on course with that kind of thing. However, it's also just as important in helping you prevent burnout, because you can plan out realistically what you can actually, the max amount that you could make, and then probably scale it back a bit to keep your expectations more realistic, because you're going to have to overlay your production schedule over your if you have another job, your work schedule, your family life schedule, your schooling schedule, your kids' schooling schedule, your wholesale customer schedule, your show schedule, and so forth. Maybe your dog's got a schedule, you got to overlay it with that. You never know, because there's so many aspects of life that we may not think about when we're daydreaming about the new project and the new idea that we just can't wait to make. And as creatives, that's always the thing. There's always a new project. There's something new that we're really excited about it. Most artists will say the item or the idea that they're most excited about is their new one, their current one. Even if they just had one an hour ago, they got a new one now. And so that can lead to a situation where you can burn yourself out because you're trying to do just so many things at the same time, and it's not humanly possible. So point number one on our list that Amy and I wrote up here was perfectionism or not. And the reason I called it that is one of the first things that you need to do to prevent artistic burnout is to celebrate imperfection, and let go. And what we mean by that is not that you want to sacrifice the integrity of your work, the quality of your work, or anything like that. But when it gets down to these perhaps trivial details of your work, such as, geez, I don't know if it's shiny enough, or is this color exactly the tone that I wanted? I was hoping for a color between taupe and wheat, and I don't know if I've really got it here. You really want to, at a certain point, kind of just cut yourself off from that. These things may be existing in your mind. You have the perfect blue in your mind, and when you dye it, if it's some sort of fabric or leather or whatever the case is, or when you paint it, and it comes out a different shade or tone of blue, but it's close to what you were thinking, this is not something to agonize over. This is something, when we first started, Amy would agonize over that, and she would make an item and it wasn't exactly what she had in mind, so she'd remake it, and it still wasn't, so she'd remake it. And and I would do the same thing, and we ended up with all these items that were really the item that we had each individually or together dreamt of making, and we had created it, but then we got hung up on these small details that really no one else would even know. They didn't know what color of blue I had in mind, but I would look at it and go, well, this half of the leather seems a little darker and that's a little lighter. It's more of a gradient, and I wanted a solid color, whatever the case was. So I'd set it aside and try again. And those types of details and those types of approaches to perfectionism in art sometimes really just aren't worth it. And it's just like when you're doing a painting and perhaps you make a mistake, let's say. It's better to find a way to incorporate it, even if it goes in a totally different direction, maybe a totally novel or very bold direction that you hadn't intended, and makes it kind of stand out amongst your other work. But it could be that I think in a lot of cases, these perceived mistakes offer an artist an opportunity to do something different, or possibly even more artistic with the piece, as it presents a creative challenge to solve. And I think that's like a really important thing to think about at this point. We've been doing this for over 16 years. We've done tens of thousands of pieces, literally. I don't know how many. If we had kept going with the way we were doing it, we would have tens of thousands of pieces sitting here that we thought, well, that's almost perfect, but not quite. And you hear about that in some stories about the potter that goes, well, these aren't perfect enough, and they smash them, or whatever the case is. I think that the imperfections are something that are widely celebrated in art. And this was something that I gradually came to accept over time, especially, let's talk about, for example, with leather. Often the leather we use can have scars on it or blemishes, and I would only pick the best spot. This has to be the only spot that I can use for this project, and that kind of thing. But I found that when I experimented and tried all the pieces that really were perfectly fine, but they might have had a scar or some other unique property to them that really wasn't a flaw, but it was just something that I didn't perceive as perfect, that I found a lot of customers really, really enjoyed that. Like, they went, you know what? You may make another one with this same image on it, but it will never be the same because the color gradient is unique. It has this big scar on it, or a little scar, that kind of thing. And that made it one of a kind for them. So that's something, I think this is one of the biggest things for today's videos, that just letting go. And, when you're doing, for example, watercolor, you can affect it to a certain point, and same with many other crafts and arts. But at a certain point, it's just going to be what it wants to be, what it's going to be. And as an artist, you have to be okay with that. That's part of it. This piece is unique. You are expressing something, and maybe you're not done with the topic. Maybe you go, well, yeah, I really like this piece for what it is, but I don't feel I'm done with this subject or this color or this process. That's cool. You're an artist, especially if you're doing it full time. Make something similar, make something grander, make something smaller, whatever the case is, using a similar idea or approach or whatever. But sort of cut yourself some slack when it comes to perfectionism, because a lot of times that isn't what people are looking for. Number 2 is to set realistic goals. So this goes very hand in hand with the production schedule that I was talking about just a moment ago. Maybe you have 40 or 100 new items that you wanted to make for this coming show or the next couple string of shows here. And you are inclined to just go, okay, these are the 40 items I want to make, and you just run out to the studio and you start them all because it's most efficient to do everything all at once and put it through the process one step at a time. I've done that before. That has, in many cases, led to me having exactly 0 pieces done because something happens. And we know that from all the scheduling we were talking about and just life in general. Not everything is predictable by any means. And you don't want to leave yourself in a position where you could have had finished half of the, 20 out of the 40 or 50 out of the 100. And if only you had split the production in half or into quarters or whatever the case was. So we recommend that, when you're creating your production schedule and you're creating your goals, that you go ahead and take the top 10 that you wanted to make and make those first. Put them through the whole process, create them. Now you have these things where you're like, I really need to restock that one. I have to have this one, or I simply must create this painting or whatever it is, because that would be the perfect thing for my booth or my gallery show or whatever. Those are your top 10. You start with those and you make those. And hey, maybe this time there's no major or significant interruption. You go on to the next 10. Well, out of the 40, these are the next 10 that I wanted. And then, maybe the rest of them are like your dream scenario or dream project where you get them all done and you have them every single one and you visualize it. You can see them all at the booth and then it happens. That's happened to me too, and Amy as well. But it's not always the scenario. So it's always better to plan in an unexpected element to your scheduling and an unexpected element to your goals so that you are prepared in case something doesn't quite go to plan. Number 3, find a creative support. So in our documentaries and our series and so forth, Amy and I talk a lot about the supports of the arts, and these people are just absolutely wonderful. And they could be your friends, your family, show promoters, whomever it is. But in this case, what we're kind of zeroing in on here is a creative support in that they're a fellow creative. So someone that really understands the ins and outs of the lifestyle and the business and the just every aspect of what you're going through, the production and so forth. Even if they make something, say they make pottery and you make jewelry or whatever the case is, but they know that, you had that production schedule and you had that goal set and, oh man, then this thing happened. And it's someone that you could talk to and say, did you ever have something like that happen? And they might go, oh yeah, here's what I did. Or, you know what, I would avoid doing this because I did this and man, that didn't work out. That can be invaluable. That, just having these friends out there that really understand from a ground level what it's like to be a full-time or even part-time creative in some capacity. It's invaluable to you because it's this knowledge base that you can draw on, even if it's just the one person. It could be multiple people though, and it could be a family member who's also a creative. It could be a best friend who's also a creative. It could be someone else. It doesn't really matter. But we've met entire families that have each member has their own booth, and this person makes cookies and that person makes jewelry and that person does photography, and they're multi-generational, so they can go, oh, my aunt did this 20 years ago and then she told me about it and I was able to come up with a better way of doing my approach with a totally different type of item 20 years later here because of the knowledge and the opportunity to talk to my aunt on that level. And of course, it could have just been as well have been her mom's best friend that was also a potter, and she had access to this person, whomever it is. This is something that would really help you to avoid burnout because you're then learning from another person's similar but different experience, and they might be able to give you insights on things that you could avoid or things that you could do to improve your situation. Number 4 was take breaks and do something fun. So this doesn't mean something like big and grand necessarily or expensive or fancy. It could be, of course, but what we were really thinking about is just like throughout the day, even if you're doing this full time or if you're doing this, 3 full days a week or something like that. Then what you could do is what we do, and we set these reminders and alarms throughout the day to make sure that we're remembering to do key things like send in this application or finish dyeing this customer's order or whatever the case is. But we also set in take a break. Or, hey, cut it off for the day, because Amy and I would both just keep going all night if no one cut us off. So there isn't anyone to cut us off. We have to cut ourselves off, of course. And so we go, okay, that we've agreed upon. This is the end time. No more pieces are being made. Otherwise, I've done this many times in the past. I'm like, hey, it's only 3 a.m. You know what? It would be better if I dyed this right now and be ready when I get up in the morning. And then, I get out there and I realize, well, there's actually 5 more things that I should also do the same, because it would be more responsible of me, but it wouldn't be. And so it's better to have this agreed upon time where you stop, and then also have times to take a mental break from the creative process, because sometimes, just like if you're doing math or something else, you can get bogged down in it and it's not as much fun, or no fun at all in some cases, and you just need to step away. I don't know, whatever your favorite thing is, maybe play an instrument or video games, or go for a walk, whatever, it doesn't matter. Something that you enjoy and love that is not what you were doing, and then come back to it, 30 minutes later, over the cases. Number 5, celebrate achievements. So it doesn't matter, like if you're just finishing a project or selling your latest piece, just find some way in which to celebrate all these little achievements that you have along the way, and certainly the big ones too, of course, but all the little achievements really build up to the big achievement. And so it's important to celebrate all of those steps along the way too, just to keep yourself, you know, engaged and pumped up and excited about what you're doing. And remember all the things that you did that, these 5 things didn't work out, but you know what? It was worth it, because these 5 things did work out, or these 10 things did work out, or 100 things worked out and only 5 didn't. It doesn't matter, because you've now achieved whatever that goal was on your list. Number 6, recognizing your burnout signs. So, there's many signs of burnout that could come creeping up on you at any point, but it could be a range of signs, such as, like, if you're exhausted all the time and you're just like, man, I just can't get enough coffee, or I'm always tired. It could be you're feeling kind of depressed or down. It could be that you can't seem to get enough sleep no matter what. It could be that you can't focus. You can't focus on when you're painting. You can't focus when you're cooking supper. You're just frazzled, that kind of thing. It could be any range of things. And there's lots of information about this out there for workplace burnout and that kind of thing. So I don't want to get into all of that details, but basically it's something that you should take seriously. And if you do feel like maybe I do feel kind of burnout, you look over the list and actually, I think maybe I'm on the verge of it. I'm at that point. It's not something to feel bad about. It's not something to feel, that you can't talk to anybody about. You should definitely have someone that contact somebody that you feel comfortable talking to, and talk through it, and see, basically to make sure you're taking care of yourself as best you can. Number 7, practice mindfulness. So this will really help you enjoy the process of creation and stave off burnout. Mindfulness, meditation, going for a nature walk if you can, deep breathing, all of these things are things that Amy and I do, and it really helps just sort of rebalance yourself internally, and you can come back fresh to the process. And it doesn't have to be an all-day hike or something like that. You could be gone for 30 minutes or an hour, or get up an hour early and go do something, such as drive to a nearby nature reserve, or go to the zoo, or whatever the case is, something that you would enjoy, and just find some inner peace there, and then you're better prepared to take on all of these realistically exciting opportunities that you have through your business that could be a bit daunting or very daunting, depending on where you're at. It just allows you to kind of do a quick reset. And it will give you more energy to approach the things that you really want to do, which is, of course, your creative outlet. And the final point is to say no. So sometimes you get an opportunity where you don't feel like you can handle it. Like it's an awesome opportunity, but you just don't feel like you can handle it. Or you get an opportunity where you think, well, I should say yes because ... but I can't handle the idea of just actually doing this. Then you should probably say no, if you can. If you can say no without putting yourself into, a situation where you really needed to have accepted that job, and this is how you feel about the job, then you should say no. That's my advice, at least. I think that, you know, visualizing a better opportunity coming along is probably a better approach than having to take on things that you just don't feel right about, don't enjoy, don't want to do, that kind of thing. So without kind of at this point, I think um, at this point, I think that I will probably I think I'll leave the video here for now. And then if you have any questions at all, if you have any comments you'd like to leave, we would love to see that. We're happy to answer any questions to the best of our abilities. So please do leave a comment. And if you found the video helpful, we hope that you'll consider liking and subscribing to our channel. It really helps us out, and it helps us reach more people just like you who are looking for these tips and a little bit of encouragement and help along the way with their creative endeavors. And so we hope that to kind of grow the community in that way through our videos. And well, I guess on that note, thank you so much for watching. Amy and I definitely really appreciate it. And we hope we'll see you here next time. Have a great day.